Hello, 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 everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, doing fantastic. Please make sure that you say hello to us or type something in the chat so we can acknowledge you. My good friend, my favorite auntie in the whole widest world is Miss Auntie Anita is here. Thank you
Good
so much.
evening. Yep, I've been chatting, commenting back and forth. So, yep.
Okay, okay. Let's see. Um, the womb therapist is here.
Mhm.
Uh, Dr. Nicole Brantley, thank you so much. Right, she sent me some recipes, which I appreciate,
Oh,
and then
awesome.
she had doctor in there. I'm like, wait a minute, you a doctor? Oh, all right,
Mhm.
stop hiding that. And I'm gonna force her to come on the show at some point there. So
Okay,
she's into
good.
health and nutrition and all that kind of stuff. So that's
Yes,
definitely
we need
something that
that.
we need. Yeah.
Yep.
So while we're waiting, if you have not gone, please go over to the community tab, but make sure you come back to the live. Go
Mhm,
over to
mhm.
the community tab, and you will see there's two surveys up there about Judge Mathis. So I want to see what your guys' ideas are about them. Whether his wife should take him back,
Mhm.
or and all that. So there's two questions, you can answer them, and I will read the results in a little bit. I'll try to put them on screen so we can see them. So make sure you go over there and check that out. Let's see, I thought I had that on the top here. Oh yeah, head over to the community tab and do the Judge Mathis surveys. There's two of them. I saw some people only filling out one. So there's
Mm.
two of them right underneath each other, so make sure you guys go over there and do that. Okay, who's in the building? My girl Les is here. Hello. The smart singer. Let's see, let me put her on screen here. My girl Les, thank you so much. The smart singer is here. A good 24. Hello. Uh, my honey, my Johnny. I think you corrected me about that before. I'm sorry. So I'm probably butchering your name. Thank you so much. The womb therapist, Dr. Nicole Brentley, is here. Mary Jenkins. Hello. Priska Amarachi. Hello, hello. Let's see. Who else is here? I felt his in sincerity and was big of him to publicly admit his shortcomings. I hope they reconcile. We'll get into it. I think that Miss Anita there is going to chew me out about addressing this before I got a chance to talk to her about
Mhm.
it. So.
No, we're gonna discuss it live here. But
Yeah,
what we sow, what we reap, we will sow. So,
yeah.
yep.
Jamila Bell, hello.
Mhm.
Woman to woman, hello. Shanika P. Green Ministries, hello. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone from Y
Mhm.
Skirt 73. Mamacita is in the building.
Yeah, right.
New York Chocolate, good evening,
Mhm.
family. Dr. L, Auntie Anita. Nikia White,
Yep.
hi, Auntie, yep.
Mhm.
And all that. So those are the people who have been acknowledged so far. So make sure you say
Yep.
hello so we can acknowledge you. Um, we're gonna discuss it. So I'm sure that everybody's watched it, but I wanted to play it again
Mhm.
for everyone so we can kind of discuss it live, and we'll go through what we got to go through, and I'll give Miss Auntie Anita her chance to spill the beans on what she believes about it. So here we go.
Days of my life. How about that?
Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that. I wanted to ask you, with news of the separation, how are you holding up?
Well, first, give me a one. Can everybody hear this? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Majane. I know. I think you told her. MJ. I'm just going to call you MJ. Okay.
Yeah.
I know you told me about that before. Can everyone hear this? Make sure you put a one in the chat. I just want to make sure. We should be good, but okay, very good. Here we go.
Not holding up very well. I would say the other man, maybe I'll be an example for other men, cautionary tale. Don't neglect your wife. You see how many at the airport now, flying out, as I have for 40 or for 25 years. My wife has been third, serving the community, taping my show, having fun with friends. That's what happens, guys. Never be too busy or never have too much fun beyond your wife.
So I do want to ask, the date of separation is listed back to July 17th. Has this been coming for some time now, or was it something out the blue?
Well, ever since we started taping here in LA, I committed to staying home more and making my wife more of a priority. But as you see, I haven't. I'm still here on the road doing the same thing. And in terms of going out into another city. But I was gone for 3 weeks. That's what July 17th meant.
Would you say you two are in a good place right now, or able to maintain a friendship?
Oh yeah, we're still in the same house and we're maintaining a friendship. And I'm trying to get my wife back. I have to show her that though. Hopefully I can show her while we're there together before, and hopefully she doesn't complete the process. But I'm changing in hopes that she will. I'm gonna get my wife back. How about that?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to eliminate all them rumors too, that it's something about a baby or even me molesting a child. It's none of that. I've just told you what it is.
There were also, kind of some rumors of any infidelity. Did you want to clear that up at all? You say it's solely neglect.
Well, neglect can create suspicion, certainly. And if you're gone as much as I am, you have every right to suspect. You go to work, you go serve in the community around the country, then you go with your guys to sporting events around the country, you go to other events except without your wife hanging with you and enjoying herself with you. And so, yeah, she would have a right to suspect infidelity.
But there was none of that going on.
That's not the purpose. That's not the reason for this.
All right. So that's that.
Mhm.
Thoughts, feelings, emotions.
I mean, at the end of the day, he's right. It is a cautionary tale. I've always told men who, and I've experienced this in my own practice. So the number one reason is usually infidelity, and the number two reason is neglect. Those are the top two reasons why women file for divorce. And the reason why I want to stress that is because I want to lay to rest this ridiculous notion that women are just leaving perfectly good marriages. That is not the case. Women are not just waking up one day and wanting a divorce. They are wanting a divorce because their husband is chronically unfaithful or their husband chronically neglects them. So that is, and then you have other things like abuse, you have issues with money, you have a lack of commitment. Yes, there's probably a small percentage of women who do wake up and decide they don't want to be married. And there's nothing wrong in the marriage. But I don't think that's the majority of women. So I just want to put that to rest. I'm tired of hearing that. And as someone who's been doing the work I'm doing, I see hundreds of thousands of couples, individuals in couples, and those are the top two reasons. So yeah,
Say them again. The top two reasons again, because of neglect.
Infidelity and neglect. Those are the top two reasons why women leave. Right.
What are the top two reasons that men leave?
So the top two, this is interesting. The top two reasons why men leave marriages, and that's rare, right? Because usually it's the woman who is negotiating the divorce. But of the 30% of men that do, the number one reason is disrespect. So chronic disrespect, chronic, embarrassing him, chronic disrespect. And then the second one is neglecting his sexual needs. That's number one and number two. So for a woman, it's neglecting her emotional needs. For a man, it's neglecting his sexual needs. So neglect is still in there.
So we got to deal with this neglect.
Right.
Deal with this neglect.
It's a thing.
Maya says there was definitely infidelity. I mentioned in the video that I made that I did not like the end of his answer. I want to know your thoughts about that.
Probably in 39 years, it's unlikely that there hasn't been some, slip ups. That's a long time for a man and a woman to be together and there not be any. So probably.
Okay. Do you believe that he was sorry? New York says, I believe he was sorry.
Understand this, that when I'm working with a couple and there has been a betrayal. So I got a new couple on my roster just the other day. And I watch body language. I watch the way people talk. I watch what they say and what they don't say. And one of the things that I stress to the person who's been betrayed, whether it's a man or a woman, I say, look, This is what you have to look for. Two things have to be present in order for you to possibly repair this. Number one, that person must be remorseful. And number two, that person must be repentant. Now, time will reveal both of those. Time, and if you present boundaries to the person and they're, going to uphold those boundaries, or they're going to actually, okay, yeah, you're right, I need to only be on the road 1 week out of the month. Like, if they're going to uphold your boundaries, great, you have the chance of fixing the marriage. But if they don't, if your husband cheats and you want to look in his phone and he says, no, I'm not making my phone available to you, that's the answer. That's not a person who's repentant or remorseful. So in his case, time is going to tell. What I observed just in his, just his answers and his body language it was very matter of fact, right? It was very matter of fact. But I think time is going to tell if he actually does the things he says he's going to do.
I thought his body language revealed that he was very remorseful. I thought that. That's what I caught. So I thought that.
Yep.
Now, what did you think about his actions? Right, he's at the airport again. He acknowledged that I'm here again.
See? Yeah. So that right there speaks volumes.
Okay.
But if she sets up some boundaries, and if he doesn't uphold them, he's not remorseful. He's not repentant. He's going to keep doing what he's doing. And then she needs to do what she needs to do.
So 39 years, and James Ford says, still here on the road doing the same thing. It sounds as if he's doing what he wants for a while. I would guess that there's opportunity to repair, and Miss Linda had finally had enough. I didn't know her name. I didn't look all that up. Yep. So I guess her name's Linda. So what are your thoughts about that he's doing the same thing? What are your thoughts?
Yep. He is. So, I hate to see.
I'm sorry. What I meant to ask was this a buildup? I didn't mean to say the same thing. You think this was over the 39 years that she's been sick and tired of him? She's been addressing this along the way. You're going out again. You hang with your boys again. These people are more important than me. What about my needs? All that kind of stuff.
I do think this has been a buildup. And if I could say so myself, I always tell people 90% of relationship success is who you choose. I think he made a really good choice.
Oh yeah.
That's what's sad.
I'll be like, 39 years and you stood by me, all this stuff. Now you had enough and you still living in the house. Listen, I'm going to get my wife back.
Yeah, he made a good choice. But the thing is, he's not doing the right thing, because his choice was good, but it's what he's doing in the marriage that's causing the problems. So remember, we have to have both. We have to choose well and we have to do well. So yeah, he's got to do better. So
he get the political response part. Doesn't appear that he's repentant. Some people are saying that he's not, and we'll go through the votes in a little bit. So if you have not gone over to the community tab, hit the tab and go over there, and there's a couple of questions so you can give your opinion. I'll put that on the screen in a moment here. Some people don't believe he's repentant.
His body language to me it was very matter of fact. It was just very matter of fact. And like I said, I would just say, oh, okay. And time would reveal. Once the boundaries are put in place, if he's not able to stay within them, that's the answer. So time will reveal.
Let's see. I want to say a couple of people say hello to me. My man, Chris, hello. Thank you so much. Lorelei, always enjoying the shows. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Let's see. What you think he has an ego problem? What do you think about that? Think he has an ego problem?
I mean, he's an Aries male. He's an Aries male.
That's why people keep asking me everybody's asking me what my zodiac sign is. So.
Okay. Do you want to share? So we can tell you some things about yourself, and you can tell us if we're right or wrong.
Well, you tell me, I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. Tell me.
You want me to take a guess?
Yeah.
Oh, that's tough. That's a tough one. I could give you the ones. That's a tough one. I would say you're an earth sign. You're one of the earth signs. So that would be my guess. You probably one of the earth signs. It's hard for me to pinpoint which one. But Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, those are the earth signs.
Okay. I'm actually an Aries male, so
Yeah,
yeah.
So
well, it's a good thing I don't date men. It's a good thing I don't date men.
Yeah. So, but you all are considered the quintessential alpha, right? You all are considered the quintessential alpha, but here is your Achilles. Your Achilles, though, is managing your anger and your impulsiveness. So that's something you got to work on, the anger and the impulsiveness and, the wanting things your way. But you are considered to be the quintessential alpha male.
I don't really follow that.
Mm-hmm.
But every time somebody starts telling me stuff,
Right.
I'm like,
You're like,
I don't have an anger problem though. I really don't have an anger problem.
Okay.
But I definitely am like, it's my way or the highway, which I know I need to work on.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see.
So that's I was like, okay, but we'll see. And like I said, if he is genuinely repentant, you'll see some changes. Maybe you'll see them more together. That's how we'll know. We'll see them out more together, and he'll make those changes because he's no spring chicken. Like, he's getting older. I would think he would want to slow down a little.
Yeah, somebody asked me that in one of the comment section, and listen, guys don't want to slow down. I mean, it makes you feel like it's over. So they got to have a garden, they got to be walking, they got to go hang with the boys, they got to get it done, and there's probably a lot of his past that's making him do that, right? He grew up in Detroit, so there's probably a lot of him that is remembering, not being able to do this. So now he's put in a place where he can do it, and so he's like, I don't want to slow down. So I'm just kind of guessing there. I wonder why he doesn't. Why do you think? We're kind of just guessing here. Why do you think that she wasn't traveling with him?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if it was what he didn't want or if she didn't want it. That's a good question. And I don't know if she's ever traveled with him. So I have no idea. That is a really good question. But, I don't know if they have children. Let me see if I can. Maybe they had children when they were younger and she wasn't traveling because of the children. And then now, I don't know why she wouldn't travel with him now. But yeah, maybe she has her reasons. Okay, so it looks like they do. Yeah, so maybe, she's home with their children. They have a big family. Looks like they have 4 children. So yeah, maybe she's saying, "Hey, I'm staying here with the kids. I'm holding it down at home." And then, as the kids grew, it continued, and it's nobody's guess why she didn't travel with him then. Yeah, it's bad. I don't ever want to see. So this is what we call a silver divorce, right? Where a couple gets 25 plus years in and they divorce. You never want to see that because, it's no picnic getting older and then doing it by yourself. Like, no picnic. So I hope they can work it out. But if they don't, that's called sowing and reaping. He planted the seeds and that's what came up. So
for the reasons for the silver divorce is the same as other divorces, just neglect?
Now, here's what's interesting. Things like menopause, things like the midlife crisis, those things play into silver divorces. So menopause for women, perimenopause symptoms, and then for men, it's the kind of the midlife crisis. So they find themselves, buying a fancy car or buying a boat or, dressing differently, getting their hair cut differently and flirting with younger women. They want to see if they still got it. So, yep.
Let's see. Judge Mathis, so he's emotional and transparent, but sometimes they think he used that as manipulation. Mamacita reads energy. I'm an Aries woman. We are self-centered.
Okay.
Is that true about Aries women? I don't.
Yes. And let me tell you, an Aries woman, she's always gonna have a man. She always gonna have a man. Same with the Leo woman. She's always gonna have a man.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, it took some guesses. Yeah. And I don't think they're okay. You're right. You're right. That's what I would have guessed.
The emperor. I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Emperor. All right, so we'll get into your viral video that popped up on my Facebook. I was scrolling through one day, and in one of the groups I'm in, one of the male-centered groups, I'm like, oh man, my friend is here. So here we go. We're gonna play a viral video by our very own. Here we go.
Women can't be held accountable. And so I was talking to a male friend of mine the other day, and he told me that women don't apologize and women can't be held accountable. And I began to really think deeply about this idea. And one of the things that came across my mind is, in the last 9 months or so of me being in my private practice, I have myself experienced many women, whether they came in as a couple or they came by themselves, they very abruptly discontinued their therapy. And I started to reflect and really think, what was going on here? And I noticed that after I had to confront them about something, I had to bring to their attention something they were doing that wasn't contributing to the health of the relationship, they became very defensive and very, just very harsh, and they stopped coming. And even though the husband would continue to come, he made it very clear that, yeah, she won't apologize. She thinks you're wrong. She thinks you're taking my side. And I began to really reflect, like, oh my gosh, is it true that women don't apologize? Is it that women struggle with being held accountable? I'd love your thoughts on this. Me personally, I think it has to do with a person's level of emotional maturity. What do you think?
Did you get any responses to that, or how'd that go?
So that video originally went viral over a year ago. Okay. And I got like 8,000 responses. I got 8,000 responses then. It was recently pushed to the top of Spiritual Word again, and it got about 2,000 responses. So I would say 90% of those responses were male. And the answer was yes, women struggle with accountability. They struggle with apologizing. And so I've had a lot of men come in my DMs, and they want to try to understand, like, why is that? Why is it so hard for women to apologize, to see their fault in something, or, to take responsibility or accountability? And I let them know that, number one, women have been pedestalized, forever. So they really do believe that they are the better sex. Like, that's what's drilled in them. I'm better than you. Like, I'm smarter than you. I'm this, I'm that. So right there, I mean, what do they look like taking responsibility and accountability, right? And then number two, a lot of women, it's a shame response, that if I actually admit to my wrongdoing, I'm a bad person. So they're never going to do that. They're never going to admit to being a bad person. So that means they have work to do. But emotionally mature women, they can admit, yeah, I mess up. I get it wrong. I don't always do the right thing, or, I'm disrespectful, and they can apologize.
I agree with you. Particularly about the part about the pedestalization that has gone on. Yep. I think that let me say how to say this nicely. It's created monsters. It has absolutely created monsters.
Yep.
My time in the PD, I saw ladies who didn't get the same charges, were released early. Domestic violence cases, even though it's supposed to be a 50-50 split, it was often not that way. And many times particularly when I became a supervisor, I just say, no, the woman is wrong on this. She's wrong. You're going to either arrest them both, or you're not going to arrest either one of them. Well, you had to arrest one of them, but mostly it was, you got to arrest you got to arrest her too. When women lie, particularly, in my arena, when they lie, the prosecutors told us point blank, we're not arresting these ladies, because if we do that, it'll send a message that'll have them not want to report crimes in the future. Yeah, and we were insane. All like, you're creating monsters.
Yeah, you are. That's insane. That's
Yeah.
insane. And that's funny that you say that, because one of my best male friends, he went to court last year with his ex-wife, and they were in there over a visitation, something, a glitch in the visitation or something. And I couldn't believe he said this, but he came out and he said, "You're not going to believe this, but she got on the stand. She lied on the stand." Okay. And then I, disproved the lie. I proved that she was lying. And the judge looked at her and said, "Do you want to change your answer?" So this woman perjured her. I was like, this is not, I said, "You're lying." He's like, "No, I'm not." She
Yeah,
perjured herself on the stand, and the
I,
judge like,
be-
"Well, do you want to change your answer?" Like,
I believe
what?
that all day. I believe that all day long, all day long.
That's insanity. That is insanity. You perjured yourself on the stand. Yeah. So it's bad. It's really bad. And I think, everyone needs to be held accountable. Everybody. And yeah, she should have been carted off for perjuring herself. So yeah.
I'm telling you, it's not gonna happen.
That's
I'm telling
crazy.
I teach criminology, and I made a special. I created the course, and it was a special. I did something particularly about how women are treated in the criminal justice system.
Hmm.
And they're just not treated they're just not treated. We don't have the facilities to hold women accountable for all the things that they do.
Yep.
I mean, they attack,
Yep.
their abuse of the elderly, their abuse of
Hmm.
little kids.
Hmm.
We just don't have the means to hold them accountable.
Right.
And so I think that translates to, and then you see them getting in, and then if that's the way it's treated in the criminal justice system, think about the education system when you grow up, and little boys are always taught, don't hit girls, don't hit her back,
Right.
and
Right.
things like that. So that may be a way to civilize the males, but it
Right.
also empowers the women to just to grow up and be, I can hit you, and there's no penalty. And then
Right.
you run into guys when in the blue uniforms, and they have the same mentality of, we're going to protect these ladies.
Yep.
They're going to treat you different.
Hmm.
I teach a class about implicit bias. Right, I taught it when I was in PD.
Hmm.
And one day I was telling a story about there was a stolen car.
Hmm.
So we as cops, we could hear the car squealing around. So we're like, this car's around here somewhere, right? So then it ended up crashing into a pole.
Oh.
So we pull up on it. And we draw down. We take our weapons out and we draw down on everybody, right? All the guys, three guys, they get on the ground, right, sprawled out. They're on the ground, and a girl gets out the car, and she's like standing around. She didn't think that we were talking to her,
Right.
and us as cops, we didn't think that either.
Right.
So I brought that story to talk about the implicit bias. Like, we're not even thinking that way. And so now
Right.
I'm like, she could have had the gun, or if
She
there wasn't,
sure could have.
she could have offed us all, because our
She
focus
sure
and our
could have.
attention was on them. So
Yep.
so this is the way that we have socialized men. We
Yeah.
don't look at that. And then, of course, we look at this other thing going along with accountability thing. Like, I don't got to get down on the ground.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah.
Ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And like I said, that's one of the things that should happen in the therapy office, right? If you're with a seasoned professional therapist, they're going to validate and empathize, but at some point along the therapy journey, they're going to confront you. They're going to confront your bad behavior. They're going to ask questions. They're going to ask you, how's this working for you? Or do you believe that this is fair? Like, they're going to confront you. And a lot of women, are not used to that. So they're like, nope, never going back. Never going back there. Because
So
I do not want to be confronted.
Right. So this brings us to, somebody wrote in here, forgive me, something about fathers. I put that on the screen before. I probably won't be able to find it. But this question right here, right? If a man, statement, if a man is with a woman that has accountability issues, he is her reflection and has the same issue. These monster women only pair with monster men. Healthy couples don't have this issue. Do you agree with that statement, that healthy people don't have that? Okay.
I do agree. We are all mirrors to each other. right? In some way or another. And it's just like women who are disrespectful. I have to bring to the man's attention that while I 100% agree that your wife is disrespectful, we have to understand that you all fit together. You are a man who allows the disrespect. You are a man who allows her to talk to you that way. And if you all were not a fit, you wouldn't be sitting here now. So the fact that, the men, like you said, they're socialized like, okay, well, she's not going to apologize, or maybe she'll offer up sex as an apology. Like, you accept it. You accept
Well, we
it,
do.
you
Yeah,
fit
yeah.
together. And so there you have it. We're like, okay, she's offered up some sex as an apology. But I tell men, no, say, no, I want you to say with words, what your part is in this, and I make the women do that. I say, well, what do you think is your part in this, and why we're here? Well, I don't know. It's him. He needs to do this and he needs to do that. I said, there are two people in the relationship. You play a part as well. And I really double down on, we need to figure out what your part is. So yeah, but the men allow it and it continues. So yeah.
Kim Harris says that most black women are fatherless daughters.
Mhm.
This one is, so do you think if they had fathers that they would be more emotionally mature and be able to apologize? Do you think?
I do. Because as I said, being raised around men, like, that's all I saw men do. All I saw men do was, take on their responsibility and being accountable and making sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I do think that dads teach that. Dads, uncles, grandfathers, like, yeah, it's okay. And they'll even tell you, like, yeah, you made a mistake. It's okay. Or, yeah, you shouldn't have done that. You just apologize and move on. So they help to release women's shame. They teach women that, you're human. Like, you're going to make a mistake. It's okay. And you own up to it. That's what my dad said that thousands of times. You own up to it. You own up to it. So that's what I learned. You own up to it and you move on. And she's right. A lot of women never heard that.
Very good. From the ladies in those 8,000 and then 2,000 responses, what did they say about it? You told us what the men said. What did the ladies say?
So they kind of unfortunately proved my point. They started talking about the horrible men and why they don't, because the men are horrible. They're horrible husbands and horrible. And I was like, well, you're proving my point. Like, you are actually on here proving the very point I was trying to make. You're deflecting. You're putting it on him. There were a small percentage of women that did agree, just like the women here tonight. I'm seeing them comment. There were a small percentage of women that did agree. They said, yeah, it is hard. It's really a struggle. It's an ego thing, or it's my trauma. It's just really hard for me to apologize. I don't know why I can't seem to do that. But it's something they can work through. They can do that ego work and recognize that we're all human. We all make mistakes, and you just own up to it and you move on.
Very good. Very good. We're going to, did you have anything else you want to add about that?
No, that's it. I was just curious to know how the women were going to react to that, because most of them did not like it.
I think they're all in agreement with you, right?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody put in here, Trump wants healthy people. NW says healthy people don't tolerate that. Is that true?
That's right. It's the truth. It's the truth.
Now,
yeah.
when you talked about disrespect for the men, how long do they put up with that, being talked to crazy and or not receiving the type of adequate apologies? I'm sure that they're dealing with it for a longer time because they're probably getting the apologies that they want, but not to change their behavior. So how long do couples generally deal with that type of craziness?
I mean, it can go on for years, but like I said, if the man is healthy, it's not going to go on for very long, because understand this: a woman disrespecting a man, that's tied directly to his self-esteem. So if he continues to be with a woman who embarrasses him, who disrespects him, who talks to him crazy in front of his kids, his self-esteem goes down. He doesn't feel good about himself anymore, and he shouldn't. Like, I think that's actually ideal. That's telling you something. I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel confident. I don't feel sure of myself. That's why I tell men, do not tolerate disrespect. Nip it in the bud early. Okay. And let a woman know that's not something I'm going to accept or tolerate. So if they could do that in the courtship phase and the early dating phase, we might have totally different outcomes.
All right, so talk
different
about that.
outcomes.
That's a good statement there. Talk about that. The first time in the courting dating stage, there was a post. You know, I always remember this stuff later on. I never take a screenshot. There was a post that said that a woman said, "Eat off his plate to establish dominance."
Oh no,
Oh, you didn't see that? Oh, I got to get you the
Oh, no, I
transcript on
didn't
this.
see that. Look, I'm gonna give my story. I'm gonna give my little story. When I was 24 and living in Atlanta, living my best life. There was some good years too. So I'm 24, living my best life. I'm in my peak sexual marketplace, as they say. And I was going out with this guy, and he might have been 30, right? And he was highly sought after, highly sought after. He was a record exec. Back then, that was in the day of LaFace Records. So he was a record executive, highly sought after, drove a fancy car, you know, handsome man, all the things, right? So I'm coming down. I lived in a high rise in downtown Atlanta. So I'm coming down. He's picking me up for a date. And so I get in the car and I started fussing. Like, I don't know if it was my roommate had done something, but I just started fussing, right? So I started fussing and just carrying on. I kid you not. We got to the end of the block. He turned that car around. He was like, eh. And he opened that door. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm letting you out. I said, what do you mean? He said, look, I don't get down like that. You know, I don't get down with all the hooping and hollering and all the, you know, I don't get down like that. Like that, I find that disrespectful. Like he literally turned that vehicle around, took me right back, was like, there you go. Like, nope, that don't work for me. And when I tell you I got right so quick, I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I didn't mean it. Like, I was totally, he's like, okay, let's have a good night. But there's a way I like to be talked to. There's a way I like to interact. And, you know, that's not it. And sure
sound
enough,
like an Aries male to me.
Yeah, I got right real quick, right? And we went on 3 or 4 more dates, and then he was all flying off to do this and that, and we rarely saw each other after that. But it never happened again because I knew that was a man that I could not do that with. Right. Okay, so that's why I tell men, you check them quickly, like first date, second date, third date, and if it continues into a third date, you're done. You're done. Don't keep dealing with her. Because she's telling you, this is how I'm going to do you. This is how I'm going to talk to you. So, yeah, I got right real fast. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I didn't. Please forgive me. You know, like, yeah. But that whole eating off the plate, oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Well, that hasn't. I mean, there was a post I saw. And speaking of that, I started the Facebook post, Big L PhD and community. So you guys can go over there. I thought I had to approve it, but there's like 5 members already. So I guess people,
okay.
I thought it's a private group. Let's keep it private. Let's keep it professional, and all that kind of stuff. So go over there and join that group. So I wanted, this is kind of off the top of my head. So I went on a date one time and we went to, where did we go? Dave and Buster's, right? They got all these games in there, right? And this girl was upset that she couldn't beat me in these games. Oh, I just couldn't understand it. I'm like, listen, let's play again. Let's do it. Let's go over here. Let's do that. Like she was trying. I don't know if she was trying to establish dominance. I didn't understand that. All right, so tell me your thoughts about that. We obviously didn't make it. But I'm like,
yeah, that you're not a good fit. And she's in her masculine, right? Masculine is competitive, right? She's in her masculine energy. So how dare you? Like, she's going to outman you. Whereas women who are feminine, right? We're like, oh, okay, yeah, you're really great at this. We're even going to pump you up. Wow, you are really great at this game. You really have a lot of skill. That's what feminine women do. But masculine women, they want to compete with you. So again, there's all these signs. I keep telling men, like, pay attention to these signs. You're going to see these signs of women that are not a good fit. But that's her in her masculine. Right. And so in my mind, yes, you know, I always tell people, and they always bite back when I say it, I want a man that's better than me. I need a man that's better than me at something. Right. That's just how I'm wired. I cannot respect a man that is not better at me at something. So I want to look up to him. I want to admire him. So I think that's weird. I think it's weird to be like that.
Well, I thought it was weird too, and obviously I was
Yeah.
like, what is this about? And like,
Yeah.
and we played pool, we played ice, the hockey, ice
Yeah,
hockey. I'm
he
like
was
bowling,
yeah, she was
she wanted to go
competitive.
back. She wanted to go back to the hockey game. Like, come
Yep.
on, what are we doing? What?
Okay.
So yeah, it was definitely. So what percentage of women do you think operate in the masculine, in particular when they are in dating situations?
Oh
And
God. Right.
and do you believe that
Mm.
they can turn it on and off? Do you believe that when they go to work they're one way, when they come home, what are your thoughts about
Yeah. So you have to be a very evolved woman. You can turn it on and off in the sense of remember that both energies exist in us, right? Just like a man can turn his feminine energy on. A man can be in his feminine. He can be creative. He can be nurturing, right? He can be loving. That's him in his feminine energy, his Mother Earth energy. So he can do all those things. However, you have to be very evolved. You have to be very conscious to do that. So if I say to myself, you know, I'm in business, right? I'm in my business and I'm working. And then when business is over, I take that hat off, I take that coat off, I hang it up. And now I get to exhale. I get to be the girl. I get to relax at home and I get to be wrapped up in my man's arms. Like that's what I want. I don't want to be in charge then. So you have to be very evolved. You have to be very conscious. But I have seen women do it. My mom, she's a perfect example. I consider her to be very much an alpha female outside of her home. When she is at home, she is all mom, all wife, very loving, very warm, sometimes it blows my mind how submissive she is. Like very submissive, very supportive of her man. And again, always had a husband. So your mom's has no, never not had a husband. She's always had a husband. So yeah, so I think it is possible because I've seen it. Now, my grandmother, she's predominantly feminine all of the time. My grandmother's, predominantly feminine all of the time. She was a stay-at-home mom most of her life and didn't have the business opportunities that my mom had, that I have. But my mom did it. My mom did it. She ran businesses and she, oversaw businesses and corporations and things. And then when she was home, she was a whole nother person. So yeah, it can be done. Now, a woman has to be evolved to do that.
Men see the signs, but oftentimes overlook them just to get some. And Kim here, I want you to combine these two answers. Kim here says a lot of men are in their feminine energy. Is this one and the same? Or what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. And right now, you have to understand that just like we have fatherless daughters, we have fatherless sons, right? So only a man can create a man. And we have a lot of men who have never seen a healthy man. They've never experienced chivalry. They've never experienced service from a man, right? Manhood is predominantly servitude or servicehood, right? I'm going to serve my wife. I'm going to serve my children. I'm going to protect and provide. I'm going to procreate with my wife. Those things, that giving, right? Most men today have not seen that. And so for them, it's all about me, me, me. What can I get? And how can people serve me? That's a childlike attitude. That's a boy. That's not a man. Men serve, and healthy women reciprocate, right? Healthy women reciprocate everything a man brings, they multiply it. So that's why I always tell men, whatever you're bringing to a woman, if she's not multiplying it in some way, shape, or form, get rid of her. That's not the woman for you. So that it really is simple. Bring a woman something or present her with something. And if she's not appreciative, if she's not finding a way to multiply it, that's not the person for you. That's what good women do.
Very good. So we'll get to the survey and then we'll talk about Nick Cannon and Dr. Brantley. That's her name, right? Brantley or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who I'm not impressed with her, but people seem to love her. So here's the survey. So most people are saying she should take him back.
Okay.
He will be grateful and change.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second part is she should take him back. Okay. So most people overwhelmingly, actually, 77% to 67%. So 23% said they should not take him back. So.
Yeah. But I mean, we want these relationships to win. I do. I want our relationships to win. I had a recent friend who got engaged and, 6, 7, 8 months later, They broke up, and I feel horrible. I feel horrible about it because I'm like, dang, like, what do we got to do to be happy and find people, so we want these relationships to win. We want love to win, and it will. I believe love will win. So we shall see. We shall see. Time will reveal.
Let's see. So to get back to Mr. Stu, men see these sides, but oftentimes overlook them just to get some. And then Tiffany says, Mr. Stu, why is getting some the end all be all? Listen, this is what men want.
Yeah.
You gotta understand. The reason we get out the bed at 4 a.m., go to work, to haul trash, is to get a woman so we can get some. You got to understand that. That is the reason that we get out of the bed in the morning. It's the reason what we're doing, whatever we're doing. It's the reason we show out, show off, buy clothes, buy the car, get a job, go to school, educate ourselves. It's all to attract a woman and to get some. So, and we're seeing the epidemic. I often talk about this. I got a couple of videos that are already in the pipe, going to be released in the next couple of days. That I'm going to be talking about this. This is why we're seeing an epidemic of men who are falling back. 60% of men are not even looking for anymore. Something like 60% of men are not in the workforce. These between the workforce and not dating, they're not in the workforce because they're not dating.
Right.
That's why they're leaving the workforce. They're not looking for jobs. They're just sitting in their mom's basement, eating their bonbons, doing whatever they're doing. And that is why, because at the end of the day, they're not getting the reward that they want. It's not enough to get a promotion. It's not enough to get a job. It's not enough to get whatever accumulates that they're whatever that they're looking for. That's not enough. At the end of the day, they want a woman. They want a woman, and they want a wife, and they want a kids and family. That's what they want. There's a lot of talk about men just want this, or they just want some, they just want some. No, but I think the vast majority of men really do want something solid and stable, and they want kids. And if they don't have that, if that's not at the end of their journey, then they're not going to do it. They're not going to participate. So that is the end all be all.
And they have to have some sort of purpose, right? I find that young men today, I have a 21-year-old son, and I'm always talking to him and working with him, and we have our monthly meeting. And it's like there has to be that North Star. There has to be some sort of purpose, some sort of reason for being. And, sometimes it can be something as simple as, learning. For him, it's coding, right? So learning to code and getting really good at coding and his computer thing. So I'm like, okay, great. I'm willing to accept that as your North Star. And then hopefully other things will come online. Maybe he will want a woman one day. He's not interested in that now, but maybe that will happen. Or maybe it's, he's told me the type of house he wants to live in. So I'm like, okay, you have to have dreams. You have to have goals. You have to have something to strive for. So I'm always telling him, like, yeah, son, this is how you're going to get things in life, is you have to want something better. You have to want something better for yourself. So whether it's a woman, whether it's a house or a car or whatever, there has to be some sort of North Star. And a lot of men, they don't have that. And then I'd love your thoughts on this, Big L. So, everyone knows how anti-porn I am. I'm a very outspoken anti-porn, supporter. Everybody knows that. Okay. And recently I heard another content creator say, and I agree with it, and it's what I've thought all along, that the bad news about men using pornography is it completely releases their hunger, right? That men 50, 60 years ago, and it's not to say porn wasn't around, but it's definitely not what it is now. But 50, 60 years ago, porn was not readily available the way it is now. And there was a hunger. There was a hunger in a man, right? And so if he was going to do something, if he was going to feed that hunger, he had to go out and actively do something. Whereas now he can release that hunger. And he like, whoo.
Why are you going to make the motion? Why are you going to make the motion?
He can release that hunger. And then what? Like now he like, I'm good. And it's like that now he's not hunting for anything. Yeah. So what do you think about that? This whole, once that hunger is gone, like if you release it, then what?
Yeah, no, that is the dilemma. It's called pocket porn. You got the little phone and you can it's with you all the time, and you can just pull it out. And so now Yeah, so I absolutely agree. It's something I've talked about. There's definitely the hunger, the drive isn't there,
Yeah, yeah.
and you just are not motivated to do whatever, because you
Mm-mm.
can get, so now you can go get a job making $25,000,
Yep,
delivering newspapers or whatever,
yep,
working at Walmart, and you can go home and just kind of please yourself, and you
yep.
don't have to put in
Bait.
that you don't have to put in that work anymore.
Mm.
And so not only 50, 60 years ago was the hunger there, but the testosterone was higher
Yes, yes.
because of the food, the environment, all that kind of
Yep,
stuff, but also because you had to get up and do something, get up and move. You
that's
don't have to
right.
do anything between DoorDash. Somebody put that in my comments. I was so mad at that. Between DoorDash, you hire a maid service, you
Yep.
can, you're readily available
Mm,
mistress that you can, your bottles of lotion, and
yep.
you can just enjoy yourself. And so
Mm,
yes, I absolutely agree with you. It's a problem,
it
and
is.
there's many men. I don't like the term involuntary celibate,
See,
incels. I don't
right.
like that
Yeah.
term. I
Okay.
think what they really are is involuntary relationships. I call them inrels.
Mm,
They can't get relationships. That's what they want.
right. Okay.
They would much rather have a relationship to do all the things that dating people do.
That's right.
But
That's right.
because of hypergamy or whatever, they can't get that. Maybe they're 5'5", or maybe they're got a
Yeah.
little bit of a gut, or they only make $40,000 a year, and they're seeing and hearing. And people are in my comment section, and I'm reading it all over the place, where these guys are just completely invisible to
Yeah.
women who 50 years ago would give them the time of day, and
Right.
that has been a big change. I often
Yeah.
talk about the Chinese historian. He's a YouTuber, and he first started talking about Chinese history, but then he got into the more
Mm.
this sector, women stuff, and he told a story about how his father was 5'4"
Mm.
in China,
Yep.
but he was able to get a woman at that
Yep.
time.
Yep.
Now, and he was illiterate. So his father was illiterate, living
Mm.
in China at 5'4". He
Mm.
couldn't get any girl's phone number today. And
Yep.
so not only, because of many times deindustrialization, the jobs moving out, particularly factory jobs, mining jobs, traditionally male jobs have gone away.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these jobs, now I know people don't like to hear this, but a lot of these jobs have gone to ladies. So now
Yeah.
ladies have moved into these different sectors, and it would
Mhm.
take or in more technically advanced type of stuff, and become college professors and all that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
jobs are really a zero sum game. Either somebody has a job or they don't. And
Right.
so if more women are being designed or getting into these jobs, then what are the men supposed to do?
Right.
And so that is that. So now a 5'4" guy who would have had a wife years ago
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have one today. So this is the guy who's going to take his pocket porn, who's going to do whatever. And this is the type of dilemma that we're dealing with. And
Yeah.
I think that there's a great, what's the word, insensitivity to the
Mm.
plight of men who are dealing with that, because there's still
Right.
5'4" men out here who
Yeah.
probably would be very, very good. And this guy
Yeah.
claims to be 5'8". He says he can't get a woman. There are other
Mm.
men, again, who are 5'7", 5'8", whatever, making $40,000, who are completely invisible, because ladies have different options. They have, just like the men have their options on their phone, the ladies have the options on their phone through Instagram, through
Yep.
OnlyFans. People are
Yep.
sliding into their DMs. Well, I don't got to talk to this 5'5" guy. This guy's 6'3" and wants to talk to me.
Mm.
We're how do we fix these type of men? How do we fix this dynamic? Right? It's an
Yeah.
issue. It's
Mm.
an issue.
Mm. Yeah, it is. It is an issue. And I have great empathy. I have great compassion because, yeah, it's like, okay, I'm going to give you some suggestions, but at the same time, it's on the other side of the aisle that we have to address some things. So, yeah, it's awful. Okay.
So let's get into Nick Cannon. We're gonna play a few of this.
Yeah.
This is something that let's see. I thought I presented the screen here. Hold on. Share screen. Here we go. Okay. So this is Nick Cannon and Dr. Brantley, right? Is that her name? Am I saying that right?
Let's
Cheyenne
say Bryant. Dr. Bryant.
Bryant.
Yep.
Cheyenne Bryant. And so we last week we went over her with what was his name?
With Cam Newton, yeah.
Cam Newton. Yeah.
Yep.
So now she's I guess, and somebody's told me that these were recorded like 6 months ago. For some
Yeah.
reason, I didn't
Yep.
know that. So
Now they're
I'm
going
finding out.
viral. Yeah, that was a
Yeah,
while
yeah,
back. Yep.
All right. So this is in a part. I don't know if you guys can see this at the bottom here, but this talks about accountability. Should be talking about accountability. Taking
Yep.
accountability.
Yep.
So we're going to try to start off here and get your thoughts about that since we're talking about accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. This is me. Sorry.
Okay. I was gonna say we can't hear.
True when they do come
There we
to.
go. Yep.
That's real talk. That's heavy. You diving in deep immediately. I mean, even when it comes, like you said, in any type of relationship, like both sides taking accountability. I mean, I wish there was a better word, or I mean, you described it, very eloquently, but it really is both sides holding true when they do come to whatever the interaction is, to say, I'm owning my shit, you owning your shit. And the goal, to me, it's always like, are we looking for resolution? Or are we just really here to emote and say, this is my piece and you got to hear me? Which there's opportunities for those spaces
For both,
too. Like,
exactly.
and before, like, I need to get this out. I need to emote. I need to feel this. But hopefully in our interaction, there's going to be some sort of, solution and resolution at the end of the day.
And let me ask you this. Do you believe, just personally you, that solution or resolution looks like us coming into agreement?
Voted best shorts, colors for summer vacation 2024. 3-inch movement shorts, breathable waistband, and laser cut.
Not all.
Listen, some of feminization here. Those shorts,
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Yep.
here we go.
Please.
Okay.
We can agree to disagree.
Okay.
But for me, and just like I said, I'm on your couch right now. I don't know if it's the Libra in me, if it's my abandonment issues as a child. I'm quick to be like, we agree to disagree, so I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll run. I'll detach. I'll act like, I'll shut down. I internalize. And I know that's not healthy, but just as a man, to stay away from conflict with any woman in my life, I'll just be like, we agree to disagree.
Yeah.
You can have that.
But who taught you that you sabotage to avoid conflict? Because that's not true. But who taught you that? Where did you learn that from?
I mean, years of therapy,
Okay.
but more like, because I wouldn't say sabotage, but I just know that I tend to run or to avoid.
But fleeing is sabotaging.
Is it always?
Fleeing is sabotaging.
Or is that safety?
Mm-mm.
Because if I engage,
Mm-hmm.
and especially if
Mm-hmm.
one or two parties become hostile in the engagement,
Mm-hmm.
I'd much rather be like, you know what? I'm gonna wait till we calm down.
But what is hostility? Unresolved pain.
Right?
So if you're fleeing from unresolved pain, then what is the resolve? What is the benefit of fleeing from unresolved pain? It just causes more unresolved pain.
But I'm saying pain causes pain, and hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
And so in that sense, if in our heightened interaction,
Yes.
if we hear with it, I'm gonna check out. Because you're saying things that are hurtful.
Gotcha.
Therefore, I'm gonna want to say things that are hurtful.
So let me ask you this: what tool could you use that could dissipate the hostility and bring y'all to a safe space? Because let me say this.
My feet.
No.
Walking out the
Wrong
door.
answer.
I'm leaving.
That is
and then I will be back when we are.
That is your dysfunctional norm.
Absolutely.
And that stemmed from what you said, abandonment. All abandonment does is make you create a little boy who was taught that he didn't matter, who was taught that he was not honorable, he was not respectful, he has very low value, who grows into a grown man, who projects that exact
why you gotta talk
value.
about me in my face
saying,
like this,
who projects that exact value on every woman he comes in contact with.
Mm-hmm.
And so he overcompensates for things outside of him, not things inside of him, which makes him extremely codependent. And we're getting to that with all your baby mamas. We're waiting a little long to get into that.
We can get into it now.
All right, I want to hear you before they get into the baby mama, whatever they're going to talk about. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, he's self-aware, right? That's what I find so interesting. So you watch the body language. Again, I listen to the words. I watch the body language. And what's disturbing is while we see someone as self-aware, we see that as a good thing. But what I find is alarming is he's very self-aware. Like he's aware of what he's doing. And to some degree, he's aware of why he's doing it. but he doubles down on the fact that this is how he does it. This is what he's going to keep doing. So that's the thing where it's like, okay, you can only go so far with him because he's self-aware. He knows what he's doing and he knows why he's doing it, but he's not willing to change the behavior. He's not willing to emotionally mature. He's not willing to take the role of the healthy masculine, which means I need to regulate my emotions, right? I can be in a room with someone who is emotionally volatile and stay calm, right? I can stay in that room with that person. They're volatile and I can stay calm. I've learned that skill. I've learned how to do that. He hasn't learned how to do that. And I don't think he wants to learn how to do that. So that's what's scary about him is, to me, he is very self-aware. He knows what he's doing and he knows why he's doing it. But he's letting her know, yeah, that's what works for me. And he said it in the interview. Yeah, I'm just doing what's always worked for me. And so that tells me he's going to keep doing it. He's going to keep doing the same thing. And, he's going to keep getting the same results.
Okay, that's a good point there. What are the results that he's getting, right? So this is the problem that I had when you interview these people, him and Cam Newton. Is like they're millionaires, right? So they're getting the results that they want, and who cares? I got 3 baby mamas. I don't know how many Nick has.
5.
But I'm getting 5.
5. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's doing whatever, right? So he can do this, and this is going to tie into somebody else asked the question here. About monogamy.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody asked me to do a show about that, so I want to do that. So I want to hear your I don't know if you want to give thoughts about that. I mean, these guys are the pinnacle of what this is, the pinnacle of success. Nick Cannon is comedy, if you can call it that, and Cam Newton. So why should they change? Why should they change? They can be children, right?
Right. I mean, he's going to see the results of his actions later. This is one of those things where we're not necessarily going to see the results right away, but the chickens will come home to roost. So he will see the results of his actions later. And see, that is the definition of a selfish, hedonistic person. They want to gratify their flesh now. People who are emotionally mature, they make decisions that are long lasting. They don't make decisions that are for tonight. They make decisions that 20 years from now, they can wake up and be like, man, I made a good decision. But these dudes are not doing that. They are the epitome of, hedonistic, selfish. This feels good now, so I'm going to do this now. Now, in 10 years, when my kids are telling me, hey, your money don't mean anything. Your money don't parent me. Your money don't father me. See, now we have a problem, but they're not thinking about that. So healthy people make long-term healthy decisions.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. And you're right. The money is not, when I had a boo-boo, you weren't there to put it on me because you had other kids or because we all couldn't live in the same roof, or when I had a nightmare, I couldn't run to your room. You protect me. Yeah. That's right. That makes sense.
And that's going to come out, right? So right now he's racing around doing whatever he need to do, and definitely paying. And this is what I find so fascinating about men like him, like Cam. So they're very anti-marriage, right? And they love to make you think it's about money. It's not about money. These men are putting out millions of dollars in child support. Millions of dollars. It's not about money. That's why I'm tired of that. I'm tired of this whole, his money. This man is spending millions of dollars funding these women, funding the children. It's not about money. What it is about, can I be honest? It is about responsibility. Men who are married are committed to the responsibility of my wife, my children, my home. They don't want that. They want to move about in and out, up and down. They just want the freedom of movement. And so if they marry a woman and they give her his name, that ties him to the responsibility. That's what most men are running from. But it's not about money, because the average man don't have no money. And I've been talking about that forever. And then they like to discredit the whole prenup and all the legal stuff. that stuff is real. There are people who have prenups and those prenups hold up. So it's not about money. It's not about losing the person. It's about something going on inside of you. It's about a lack of, I don't want to be tied to this person. I don't want to be committed or responsible for this person. So yeah, because it's not about money. Nick is spending millions of dollars on these people. So I'm like, no, it's not about money.
Yeah, you guys are doing some good work in the chat here.
Yeah.
I know you got to go soon. Let's try to get through what. I don't know if he's going to talk about his kids. I didn't watch this.
Yeah, we're getting there. The tool for dissipating, because I want everyone to know this tool. This is just not for you or for me. I mean, because I was the one that used to go hostile. I know I can go hostile and emasculate and say a lot of cutting things. And if a dude didn't pivot, it was going to be some pivoting if you didn't pivot.
So furniture was going to be moving.
I understand it. But the tool is emotional intelligence.
Now, is she an emotionally intelligent woman? She is exactly, to me, the type of woman that I would be like, I would listen. You talking about turning the car around. We're gonna spend the block in this car, and you getting out. I would have picked up. I mean, what is your assessment of her?
So Dr. Bryant, if you are familiar with her background, she comes from a dysfunctional background, right? So we're not gonna absolve ourselves of that. We're not going to wash that off of us. A degree is not going to wash that off of us. And a bunch of, letters in front of or behind our name is not going to wash that off of us. She comes from a very dysfunctional background. She comes from teenage parents. Father, was a drug dealer, very prominent drug dealer in LA. I think she was raised at one point by her grandparents. So she comes from a dysfunctional background. So see, she has that in her, and that's what people are picking up. People are picking up that hood, that dysfunction. Oh yeah. She's got that in her. So, and like she said, in her book that, I turned my life around and I am a story of survival and, all of these things. And you know what? I appreciate that because it is a testimony that it's not how you begin, it's how you end. So I appreciate her story. I appreciate the fact that, she did not want a life like her parents or like her mother. She wanted better. And I can appreciate that. Now, here's the thing. The pendulum may have swung from here, like all the way over here.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's what's concerning me. So I'm going to keep my eye on her because I would love to see her experience, marriage and motherhood and partnering and things of that nature. I would love her to experience that and to realize that, okay, having a title or having some letters behind your name, the number one title for me is mom, wife. Those are the things that are most important to me. So I'd love for her to experience that. And I hope she does. I hope she gets to do that.
Yeah, I don't know much about her stories. Queen of the South is saying she has the oldest of 9 kids. Her father had 9 baby mamas. So.
Yep. Yeah.
So this is all triggering to her. This is all triggering.
Very.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Listen, I got a little bit more respect for her now. Okay.
Yeah.
She's seen it. She lived it. She's trying to stop that. So I give her a lot of credit for that. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I will play a little bit more of this, and then I want to jump ahead here to the low functioning, what I call psychobabble. But
the tool is what is emotional intelligence to you?
Emotional intelligence is knowing how to assess out the situation and understand and feel for someone else and have the empathy for the moment. That's why I'm removing myself.
Emotional intelligence is more about you. It's about being able to sit in what you feel. Hold on. Without the codependency of allowing this person's emotions to
penetrate.
To throttle. Penetrate. That's my word. To move my throttle.
Right.
That's called self-mastery, and that's emotional intelligence. And so when things get hostile, if I implement the emotional intelligence tool and I say, hold on, Nick, baby, I'm just trying to have a conversation with you. Like, seriously, there's a lot of pain between both of us. And I would rather us sit and exchange our pain and facilitate each other than us turn on each other and project more pain onto each other. Are you in a place to do that right now? Or do you need some time before we can do that? That's emotional intelligence. 9 times out of 10, that de-arms the other person. If the person's not there yet, then it's still healthy for you to say, look, Doc, I want to do that, but I can't do that right now. So I need a moment. But that's still emotional intelligence on your end.
That's a lot of talking. I mean, is that really impractical when you're maybe in a therapy session? But are you gonna, listen, I need this, that, and the other when you're in the heat of an argument? I mean,
Right,
is that
right.
that's a lot of. That's why I call it word salad. That's it's like,
Mhm.
come on. So,
Yeah, it's and
elaborate.
don't get me wrong, it's a skill that people have to learn and they have to practice, right? You have to practice de-escalation. You have to learn tools to de-escalate. You have to take breaks. You have to come back after those breaks. I like to tell people, in the 25 years I've been doing this work, I've been a relationship scientist. I have not had an argument with a man. I have been in 2 relationships. I was married part of that time and was in 2 relationships, never had an argument because I practiced the skill of not screaming, not yelling, not throwing things, not cursing people out. I just practiced the skill over and over and over. And so now I won't accept anything less. Like I won't be in a relationship with a man and there be a bunch of arguing. I just won't accept that. I definitely don't accept a man using profanity around me. Like that's a hard line, right? That's not a relationship I want to be in. So you can get there, but again, you have to practice and you have to know how to self-regulate and you have to know how to co-regulate. That I'll be honest with you, these are things we should have learned in middle school and high school instead of learning trigonometry. Instead of learning, what's the other thing we learned that we don't use and don't need? Like these are the skills that people really should be learning. We're learning a bunch of stuff in high school and middle school that we don't need. We need to learn how to regulate ourselves. We need to learn how to co-regulate with another person. So that's what I find so disturbing about just our system, period. It sets us up for failure. It sets us up for relational failure. And this is what you get. Like this is the outcome of that. People who, run away, or you have the opposite of Nick. You have people who stay and fight and they fight till the death. So, Nick is saying, hey, running away is safe, right? That feels safe to me. That's keeping me out of trouble. So yeah, you got people that stay and fight it out. So that's not good.
All right, we're going to get to this low functioning talk, and I know you got to leave soon. I am going to open up the panel if anybody wants to come up because Miss Anita has a short night tonight. But if anybody wants to talk about a couple of questions, I am going to make a video about my thoughts about polygamy. So I'll save that for another time. Somebody also, I don't know if I'm going to combine that. Somebody asked me my thoughts about interracial marriage. So I don't know. I might combine them. We'll see. We'll see. Listen, people are asking me, so I mean, I'm just going to give my thoughts. So, and you guys can always email me about a show topic, but we'll do this low functioning stuff, and then
because I control myself.
Hold on. Okay.
I have full control of my. But in your sense, because that's what I'm saying. Because even only reason I say what I disagree, because at some point we've all been low functioning. Yes. And we have to accept that. Yes. So to label that is like, all right, at some point everybody's going to be in their low state. Everybody's going to be vulnerable. Everybody's going to feel empty.
But
everybody's going to yearn something.
Mental health.
And when it comes to relationships, the beauty of a great relationship is where I'm weak, you are strong. So therefore, I have dealt with some people that balance me and are equally yoked. And at times, have I been manipulative and prey on certain things? Yes, because I'm a man.
Right. And but not all men do that. We don't want to blanket all men.
And I was taking advantage.
Do not prey and manipulate. Not all men.
First of all humans prey and manipulate, but in a man in a relationship,
not in a praying way.
If I see that I can say, okay, I feel like I need this and this person has this, I'm going to do and say whatever I need to do to get that.
But Nick, again, law of attraction. We attract who we are despite of who we think we are. You use the word, you said women who are equally yoked to you.
Yeah.
Equally yoked comes in many different facets.
100%. Balance, if anything.
They have been equally yoked to your low functioning dysfunction that you have learnned to survive in.
Because I use my tools to because first of all, let's you're acting as if I'm entering every scenario with the full me, and we all, every time someone meets someone, you're meeting their representative. I know how to turn on the perfect man.
Depending on the
therefore
person,
I may have manipulated a situation, and therefore, so it's to no discredit to anyone
Yeah,
else,
I got you.
I've come into every situation. I can be God-fearing, celibate, the one that you want. I can tell you everything that you want in a man and show you that. I can open the doors, lay down the cloak, send the jet, do it all to be like, oh my goodness. I've never. And then toxic Nick shows up and you like, this motherfucker got me.
No, but
he
what
done
you
gave
said
me
is
the
perfect.
draws and I ain't heard from him in 3 weeks.
What you said is perfect. No, what you said is perfect because you named all of the low functioning, superficial things that a low functioning woman would fall into.
Church,
women,
that ain't low functioning.
Baby, any woman,
we going to see the Lord together.
Any woman or man,
or the mosque, wherever you want to go. I know them both.
Any person who's done the work, who gained a sense of self, who's worked on their pain pockets, who's worked on their trauma,
are still going to be vulnerable.
They're going to be vulnerable.
They're going to yearn. And late at night when you're sleeping alone, you're going to go, I wish I had a strong man to rub my back.
They're going to be imperfect, but that person would want a strong, healthy, functioning man, not a low functioning man.
A nigga with some good hands.
Not a low functioning man. No. That's what I'm saying is the difference. But
every woman, you can't, Doc, you can't sit here and say that.
But you're speaking from your experience, which makes it better.
I'm saying,
because your experience of these women is that they fall short for a jet and a good meal and a good man who says he goes
and
to
some
church.
Strong hands.
And let me go further, and probably a big penis. But okay,
you said it, not
so
me.
let me go. But again, a high functioning. I'm not even talking about value. A high functioning woman who's done the work. The work.
I'm trying to hear what this high functioning woman is.
But a high functioning woman, you cannot send a jet and be toxic, and she will go on the.
She don't know I'm toxic yet.
A high functioning woman wouldn't even attract you, baby, because it's law of attraction. Stick with me, just stick with me.
Please explain this.
Nick, regulate your emotions and stick with me. Regulate your emotions and stick with me. Listen, what is law of attraction? We attract who we are, despite who we think we are.
Absolutely,
think we are.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? I see you head nodding over there.
And like I said, I reposted this exact clip. I said, he's giving you all the script. He's literally telling you what a lot of men out here are doing. I can pretend to be whatever you want. I can pretend to be godly. I can take you to church. Like, y'all need to wake up. You need to wake up. And like I said, I know men like him. I know men just like him. And again, the antidote is your healing, right? The woman being whole and healed, that's the antidote, right? Is seeing through all the BS and going, oh, okay. Because again, guess what Nick would do? Nick would fly me on the private jet. We would go places, we would do things, but Anita wouldn't sleep with him. Anita wouldn't give him no drawers. And Nick would get rid of me lickety split. That's what would happen. That the last man I dated like him and did the whole, I'm godly, I'm Christian. Sure, we went to church. We went and traveled. We did things together, and Anita kept her legs closed. And guess what? That was over before it began, because he was like, oh, I thought this was gonna, this was the key to your legs flying open. No, I appreciate the dinner. I appreciate the trip. I appreciate, the gifts. He bought me a lot of gifts. We did a lot of things together. But the difference between other women and Anita is I keep my legs closed. That's how I found out everything I need to know. But what did he say? Oh, I gave him the drawers and I haven't seen him in 3 weeks. That's what women need to learn. So yeah, I love men. I love wealthy men. I love men who are giving and providing. I sure do. But here's the thing, ladies. Keep your legs closed. Stay off your back and stay off your knees. Then you're going to find out who you got. That's
How
all.
long should they stay off their back and off their knees? How long should they do that?
I say as long as you possibly can. And that's going to look different for everybody. As long as you can. I've done it for a whole year. A whole year. And was like, oh, you may actually be here for more than just that. Yeah.
How do we get this to the younger ladies, the teenagers, the 18, 19, 20-year-olds,
18 to 30? To me, it's the 18 to 30 need to learn this, right? I teach it to my daughters, 21 and 24. Stay off your back. Stay off your knees. Find out who this dude really is. And again, I'm not the morality police. I'm not saying that at some point people are going to have sex, but I'm definitely not going to promote casual sex. I'm definitely not going to promote sex without love, sex without commitment. No, that's just not who I am. I didn't come from that. I didn't come from that. I come from Jodeci. I come from Keith Sweat. I come from who else? Who else was I listening to today? I was listening to my 80s R&B station. That's what I come from. Okay. So you just, talking crazy to me like these rappers today, and you expect me to lay down with you. No, I'm not interested in that.
But why are they doing it? Why are they falling for that? I mean, tell me, explain to me why these 18 to 30-year-olds, I think it's older, 18 to 35, 40-year-olds are doing that. I mean, as you said so adequately, they're the gatekeepers, and they talk crazy to you.
Yep.
I guarantee you that Nick and Cam have women around the block waiting to do this and be the next baby mama and all that.
They sure do. They sure do. So part of it is, the culture, and that's unfortunate. But in the last 20 years, we've seen the desolate, probably 50 years, if I'm being honest. But, we've seen the dissolution of the family. We've seen the dissolution of the Black family. We've seen the dissolution of the community. So I was raised in a community in Washington, D.C., that if I was playing on the block or I was going down the street to the corner store and I got smart or I acted up, man, that news traveled fast. Like that news traveled fast. By the time I got back to my grandmother's house, she was spanking me, and Sister Johnson next door was telling me off, and this person, and it was all about community. It was all about community. And guess what? You didn't have women. So a lot of women will say this to me. Well, loose women have always existed. Loose women have always been around. But you didn't see those women literally out here just flaunting it. Like, yeah, I'm half dressed and I'm sleeping around. I've slept with 21 men in the last 30 days. Like, you didn't see women doing that. There was an element of shame. That's what I come from, an element of shame where you knew better to go around and just, openly flirt with somebody's husband and all this foolishness. No, you were shamed. And guess who slut shamed you the most is other women. Other women. Your name was mud. Okay. Let you be out here sleeping around. You didn't have no friends. Because other women, they were like, she loose. She a slut. She a hoe. Yeah. But see, we've lost that. We have a group of women that are all doing that. Yeah. And if you're abstinent, you're the odd person out. How many times do women now, oh, you not doing anything? That's odd. That's weird. I'm the odd person out in the group. And Anita, he flew you to California and you didn't give him no sex. I was like, no, I did not. Well, why? He went through all that trouble. Like, I'm the odd person out now. That's how times have changed. But I didn't grow up like this. I grew up with 5 of my girlfriends, and we was all like, we're not doing that. We're not. And there may be that one girl in our class that was like, well, I did it, or I tried it with him. And we like, yeah, she a slut. She got slut shamed.
Last question here, and I know you got to go. Will a good man wait that long? Wait a year or whatever? Will a good man wait that long? What are your thoughts about that?
I'm gonna say this: the percentage of men that will wait is getting lower and lower as we're having this conversation. Like, I'm looking at the dial drop, so the percentage is getting lower and lower as we're having this conversation. However, if you want something real, that's the way to find it. Right? If you want something real. So like I said, waiting is going to look different for every woman. But if you throw it all out, you just going to get what everybody else getting. I don't want what everybody else is getting. I'm going to wait as long as I can. I'm going to see what the integrity and the character of the man is. Right? And then maybe waiting is 6 months. Maybe it's 3 months. Maybe it's a year. Maybe it's until marriage. And yes, I know people personally who have waited till marriage to have sex. But I'm simply trying to give y'all, something different. Because if what you're doing is not working, you can't keep doing it and complaining about it. So no, stay off your back, stay off your knees, keep your legs closed, require something more than just, like she was saying, the private jet and the fancy dinners and the gifts and all of that. I require a level of commitment. So I've never had sex with a man outside of a committed relationship. Never. And I went on Richard Cooper's show and said that. He's like, oh, you must be lying. No, I'm not. I have never had a casual encounter with a man. I'm like, you my man, right? Okay. We're together, right? We're in a relationship, right? And once he says, yeah, you're my woman, like we're in a relationship. And even then, I don't jump right into the bed with him, but I make sure it's clear we are in something. We are committed. And then if there's love and there's feelings and there's commitment, sure. But this idea of that, as they say, that sex should precursor commitment, I think that's why we're in this boat. We're in this boat. It's like shopping in a person's store and leaving without paying. And then you expect the person to come back and pay you. That ain't gonna happen. No, you're gonna pay me. You're gonna pay me up front and then you're gonna take whatever you want. So that's just me. That's what I encourage other women to do. So nope.
All right. I know you got to leave, so thank you so much.
She asked you. I want you to answer this question before I go. Big
Oh,
L,
okay.
What you say? Are good men waiting that long?
I think he'll wait that long for a good woman. I think a good man, if he's looking for something substantial and he sees that in you, he will wait. I absolutely believe.
Okay. All right.
If he's not willing to wait, well, if he's not willing to wait, he's probably got other options that he's exercising.
Right.
But he will. I mean, I'm just going to keep it raw and real. He's probably going to do whatever. But if he sees something in you that he doesn't see in anybody else, he will never let you go. He will never let you go.
And Mr. Stu 97 said a good man will wait for a quality woman.
Yeah.
See? Yeah. Okay, ladies, y'all pay attention. It's been a blast as usual. I hope y'all have a great rest of the night. Thank you so much, Big L, for having me on.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to bring up Miss Raquel. Thank you so much. What say you? How you doing?
Hi, I am good. How are you? Great conversation. I love Miss Anita.
Yes.
And all. There was something that the doctor that was talking to Nick Cannon said about physical attraction.
Okay.
That we actually attract who we are. So I personally believe that we are over sexually stimulated, and that has become a major issue, and it's caught up with us. And it's starting as young as our young ladies, say 12, 13-year-olds, unfortunately. And I will always believe that marriage, not only believe it, but it's true that marriage is, or not marriage, but sex is for marriage. And I know not everybody believes that. And I think until we begin to value the relationship of marriage as God created it, will we be able to turn a lot of these things around. It's not always going to be 100%, but I am a firm believer that, and not only do I believe it, but when I have not practiced that, it has gotten me into trouble. I think a good man will wait. A good man is going to look for a wife. I don't think that a good man, quote unquote, because we can define good. We all have a different definition to good. I hope it's a godly standard, but a good man, I believe, will even respect that that sex is for marriage, and you're going to do everything that you can until you come together and marriage and be able to benefit from that. And that's what I teach young women, is not just to hold out. I have two daughters that I raised, and I didn't harp for them not to have sex, but I taught them the character of what God says, a value of marriage. They have wonderful husbands. They're millennials. They are so grateful that they are married and that they have wonderful men, because they see a lot of their friends that are in tough relationships and are in and out of relationships. And I think that's really sad. But I think that our young women just need stronger women, mature women who are wise, who are going to help these young women to come up to a higher value and standards.
So somebody asked, who is this lady? So the panel
Who
is
am I?
open. So no. I just want to address, anybody could come up. We can have a conversation. I don't know if you guys want me to continue playing Nick's childhood behavior. I personally don't want to listen to it anymore. But if anybody wants to come up and give your thoughts about what we talked about so far. But since you're here, Ms. Raquel, I want to hear, there was conversations going on. The link is in the chat, so you guys can just come up and just click on. But I want to get your opinion about something that we were talking about before. And there seems to be something that I'm really confused about, and something I addressed this in one of my driving episodes, in which women really don't understand that what men want is sex.
Mm-hmm.
Full stop, pull over, get out. This is what they want. And he will wait for that if he thinks that you're worth it for the long term. But what he's wanting is sex. And they were kind of going back and forth in the chat a little bit before. And just, I know you just said too that sex is about marriage, intimacy should be between that. And so again, coming from this culture that we come from, at one time the Judeo-Christian relationship was the foundation of how men got sex, because they couldn't get it before. Now that whole thing has been deregulated, but they still want sex.
Right.
And if the men are going to give it to, if the women are going to give it to them without the commitments, without the relationships, then they're going to continue to take it, and we're going to continue on the same rabbit hole. So what is your opinion about that, about men wanting sex? And that to them, it can be separated from relationships. And somebody wrote in the chat, I know I'm asking a long question here. So somebody wrote in the chat, even if they don't like the woman, and then somebody else wrote, there's a decompartmentalization that goes on, or compartmentalization that goes on. Men can have sex with women that they don't like, that they don't ever want to see again. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, that's true. But then that means he has an issue. He has a problem. You see, going in, and it's true. Men do. That's what they want. They want to have sex. That's a weakness of the male, and I call it a weakness because it is natural. And I think there's just as many women who we want the man to be affectionate with us, and then if we end up in the bed, then it's okay, because we might define that as love. Sometimes we don't define love correctly. I, for many years, grew up thinking that love meant sex. That if a man told me he loved me, then that means we had to go to bed. And I had to learn that again. So depending on our upbringing and then what we've been through in life, we will misidentify what love is. Men will probably never associate sex with love. It's a gratification. And if he hasn't held out long enough until he finds somebody that he would want to marry, then the more you stay stimulated, the harder it is. So I was divorced for 17 years. And when I remarried, it was a man who was in church, and that doesn't matter. We have to get out of the idea that if I meet him in church, that means he doesn't want sex. No, that just means he's going to church, and so are you. So we have to begin to ask the right questions. But before we get there, we as women have to have a standard and live by those standards long enough. Surround ourselves, not be afraid to be around other men, so that when we do go out with that one who is just looking for sex, and he may not just come out and tell you, it might be a little bit second, third date. One man asked me over the phone, he knew, I met him, he was in and out of church, he knew that I was going to church. He asked me, okay, if you don't sleep with me, do you believe in foreplay? So and I told him, no, I believe in it, I don't practice it. And so we have to identify and set a standard for ourselves, especially if you are a parent, you are raising children because they are watching you. By this time, my daughters were already grown after 17 years of being divorced. But nonetheless, I remarried. That second marriage did not work because of all of the signs that were there that I did not pay attention to. Because the signs look small, but they're magnified when you get married. And usually it starts with the sex.
Okay, explain that a little bit more. You mean the problems start or they get bigger after marriage?
They get bigger. They start small. You might see I've heard you say a yellow sign. Right. Not necessarily red, but that yellow sign, it's important to talk about it. It's important to visit it. And if it looks like it may be something that can be resolved, then you work through that from the place of dating, not incorporating sex. Because once you go to bed, you've allowed yourself to open yourself up to a place of intimacy, and there's no going back. Then it makes it harder. So that yellow sign, you begin to ignore that, you marry it, and now it becomes a bigger issue. Now it's really magnified.
Is it a yellow flag? Is it a yellow flag if a man doesn't want to have sex until after marriage?
For me, it's not a yellow flag, but I think that it's important to talk that out, because maybe if he's not comfortable talking about sex, then that can be another issue. It can be a man that has other emotional issues. So I think that
or physical issues.
Well, also emotional, especially if he's also emotional, because some men, some men that grow up in a home where, say they grew up in a home where mom cheated on dad, and he saw that, then that's something's wrong. Something will happen to him, emotionally and also, mentally. And if I think openly, you should be able to talk about sex. You should be able to not feel intimidated, because if you're going to a serious relationship and into marriage, you got to be comfortable.
At what point do you talk about? Listen, anybody could come in and see you guys chat, and anybody could. I put it in here. It's not only us having a conversation. Anybody could come up. At what point is it okay to start talking about sex? Yeah, I do have a Cash App. Yes. I tend not to do this a lot. Yeah, help me with this. I do have a Cash App. At what point is it okay to start talking about sex?
I think once there's a real age has a lot to do with it, because your 20-year-old, they probably don't want to talk about sex. They want to engage in sex. But if you're older, mature, you've been in relationships, I think that should be an open conversation, especially when you're at a point of where you're attracted to each other. Because you might be thinking, what is it? Where do I go from here? So I know for me, if it's on a first date, you want to talk about sex, I'm good with that. But you'll need to feel your way out. I don't know that there's a right or wrong, but definitely if there begins, a more of an attraction.
There's super chats too. So I don't want to. Yeah, so people don't want to get turned off, and I've heard ladies say they start talking about sex too early, then it's a complete turn off. But and I've had this debate with people. Yeah, the young people want to get to it, but sometimes older people, they want to kind of wait and see and probably do a little more mature vetting. But I don't see how it's not a red flag for a man to at least want to talk about it, right? At least or specifically wait. I mean, just like I'm gonna wait. I'm not a woman, but I would be like, what's wrong with this? If I heard a dude talking about that, I'd be like, what's wrong with you, man? I mean, you don't want to do it? Are you having issues, or you're saying emotional issues, right? I'd be like, are you having some physical issues, or why don't you want to do it? Well, I don't understand, but that could be the socialization that I'm under. So
yeah. Well, there's a reality that we have to check when we decide that we're ready to date. If you haven't been in the dating scene for a while and you make that decision, then and depend on where you are, on your age. I think we've got to be open, especially, in an older generation, that we should be open to have any conversation because there should be some maturity. And if not, it's important that when you start dating, it's going to bring some triggers. And I'm a firm believer that if anything triggers me, then again, that's probably a sign that I need to take a look to see if there's some weakness there. Am I sensitive? It's a wound that still needs to be dealt with. Those things are important because you shouldn't be, because sex is so natural. And we should not, the reason it doesn't seem natural and it seems perverted is because of everything that we see today and because it's being done out of marriage. But between a man and a woman, it's, and that depends. I mean, if he presents it in a way that's perverted, well, then that's a whole other issue. But if you're mature and it's not necessarily, why do not have sex? I think that's a question to ask. That should be one of your top 10 questions to talk about.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So somebody's saying to you, you start, let's just say it's the third date. You're really kind of liking this guy, and he brings up to you, listen, I don't want to ever get intimate until we get married.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, would you think he's hiding something? Would you think he's on a down low? Would you think that there's something wrong? I mean,
I would not, but I would not feel that.
Kim is saying it's my socialization, so go ahead.
Yeah, you know what? No, I would not feel uncomfortable but I wouldn't take that as, oh yes, okay, great. He's with me. He doesn't want to have sex till we get married. But he may have an outlet. He may go home and watch porn. Well, that's just as bad. So, from the standard from where I am, that may not affect anybody else, but from where I am. So I would want to have that conversation if he says, well, and actually, to be honest with you, what I believe is if you've met someone who you have the same beliefs, same spiritual standards, Christianity, what have you, you might not have to make that disclaimer because it's just understood.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you are at the same spiritual level where I believe it, you believe it, so there shouldn't be a disclaimer, but you should be able to have a conversation and the whys.
Yeah, but okay, but the conversation is, I know, and maybe Miss Dajavu 22, maybe I'm immature too. I just think that he's either not attracted or he's hiding something, or maybe he's got a little 2-incher. I just maybe right.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that it has something to do with his image. Again, if that, but that's the reason why
you're so PC. His image.
But that's why it's important to talk about sex, because if he does have that complex, and it's going to affect you when you get married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jen is saying the same thing. I would think it's strongly spiritual or his ED, right? He can't get it up, or he's not really packing, or yes, somebody said it could be my socialization. Maybe it's just, I don't know. I just would think that, and I've heard ladies say the same thing that Miss Da is saying, that the guy doesn't try anything. He's either on a down low, is something wrong with him, even in church, right? I mean, listen, I grew up in church. Like, these people were getting it in. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, and I think that's probably a way of being. Again, you're probably not even spiritually mature. There's not a spiritual maturity if you can't talk about sex, because it's a natural thing. It's God created, and not at whatever age. So it's been perverted to the point where we don't talk about it. We just engage in it, and we're cheating ourselves out. Of not being able to talk about something that is natural, because he should be able. Now, if it is an ED issue on the male side, then I don't know that that's a conversation you want to have right away. It might be with somebody that you're that there's an attraction. Maybe it's not on the first date. I don't know. That's something for him to weigh, and also weigh, who, the female is, because that's pretty deep. I mean, that's very personal. That's very intimate.
No, listen, I agree. I just think that there is something to when a man is in particular saying, I want to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if he can, and Darla's saying if a man wants to wait and he can articulate why, I'm okay with it, but he probably would assume that there's something wrong. Yeah, I'm just saying that we just assume that there's something wrong. And I get what Ms. Da is saying. It's like, wait a minute, you didn't even try? You know.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not making fun. I'm not making fun of guys who have issues.
Yeah.
Obviously, address your issues and all that kind of stuff. But I just want to know how it comes off to a woman. That's why I'm asking the question. How does it come off to a woman if the man doesn't try? He doesn't. Yeah, am I not attractive? You didn't even ask the question. You didn't even try. So
that would depend on where she is. If we associate sex with attraction, love, some of the superficial things, am I not sexy enough? Is my dress not short enough? If we dress for that reason and we don't get that response back, then that's a priority for her as a woman. So it depends on where you are as a woman as far as how you see sex. And I don't think you uncover that when you're dating. You uncover that just in your natural everyday, because we're sexualized every day. We go to work, we work with men, we work within the opposite sex. So, we engage with the opposite sex. So it just depends how we see sexuality and how we see sex and how we sexualize ourselves, carry ourselves in that arena. If we dress for that because we want a man to notice us, then yes, you're going to question it. I know for myself, I'm not going to question it.
Really? So a guy says to you, "I want to wait," and you're just like, "Okay, we'll just order a cheeseburger." I mean, that's not a
concern of mine, because that's a standard that I've lived. That's a standard that's been set for me, and I have set, because the times that I did not, it failed me, and because of my relationship with God, that is more important, so that I can be the better woman that I can for my husband, then that would be a valor for me. But it does not mean that we cannot talk about sex, because we want to also make sure that we value sex in the same way, that it's not just, I'm just not going to have sex until I get married. Okay, well, let's talk about it.
Oh, that's what I mean. Okay. I thought you weren't going to at least talk about it.
No, we can talk about it. We can talk about it all day long. That won't offend me at all, because then you have to understand each other when you're dating, because again, that's part of the attraction. But I obey. I try to stick to that standard, to the standard that God has set.
So let me ask you this, and I know I grew up in church, and I know Sister Anita, who was on, talked about this. I'm not religious anymore. I put that out there, but I am interested in this question, right? So you got a guy, you guys talked about sex, and he just says, "Listen, this is my spiritual beliefs. I don't want to wait. Whatever. You guys walk down the aisle, and now he's terrible. He's lacking physical, right? It just whatever. You imagine why it's bad. How does a woman deal with that? And now you're married, right? Because you want to wait till after marriage, I would presume. How would you deal with that?
I think when you come to a place where you love and you see, when you see marriage from the way God sees marriage and creates it that way, and you make that your reality, then the sex part will not affect whether you don't. Because say it's the best, sexual relationship you can have, 3 months later, one of you is an accident, you can't have sex anymore. If you base your marriage on how good sex is, the minute that is out the window, the minute the sexiness is out the window, you got married young. My first husband left me because I gained weight after I had our 2 daughters. I did not look the way I did. So what I uncovered is that sex is what really mattered, all the physical. And that was way young, when we were younger. And we have to realize that whatever you lay as a foundation, that foundation is going to have to be strong. And if sex is the killer, because there's alternatives once you're married, then you're probably not going to have a strong marriage. And then if you have children in that environment, your children will be affected. And then now you've created something bigger. So how I would handle that is that, because I love him, because we have a purpose in the marriage, because we're working on being one, whatever the issue is, we'll work on it together. That's part of what unity and oneness in marriage is.
Okay. So how would you advise people who want to test drive the car?
I would advise them not to, but I know that not everybody is in the place, But if women are striving to come to that standard, because I do believe there are some men and women who want to, but they can't help it because either of generational curses, some of our, sex is an addiction, and they may not like it. There's people out there who I think genuinely do not like it and want help. And it's hard is for you to find the spiritual help that you need, the natural help that you need, so that you can enjoy your sexuality as a male, as a man, and as a woman. That part of not being able to try it out, that you're going to be okay, and that there's someone out there that you can build together. But it's going to take the wisdom of God to do that.
I know people who were married for years and didn't have sex. I know them.
Yeah, and that's not normal. That part's not normal, because someone
and mostly because a woman didn't like it. She didn't like the fact that somebody was crawling on top of her doing whatever. She didn't like it.
You see, and that's a whole other issue. That is a problem, because that is not normal. And there's even a scripture in that where it says you can't hold out as a woman. You can't put that through put your husband through that. So that at that point he's getting it somewhere, even if he's in the bathroom by himself. And that's not normal. That is not. That's a problem too. Within marriage, you can have your way all day long, and be, do what you do at that point. But holding out is also not right, according to scripture and according to God, because he created it for that reason. He made us with the desire for sex within the confinement of marriage.
Well, there's definitely things wrong, it's definitely, but there are people who just don't, and I've heard of, I know a few women know them who just don't want that. And these women are not, postmenopausal. They're in their 30s, 20s, 30s. And just
now it could be too that, because I've also met women who have never experienced the satisfaction of sex, of an orgasm. So that can again, that's why it's something that we should be able to talk about freely when you're dating, to know where you are, to know if you're suffering through something. I think you should get help, and then together you find help. Yeah. Otherwise you can't enjoy the marriage. That's that part of the marriage that's dead, the part of the relationship. If you don't have that intimacy sexually, I think even the intimacy naturally without sex has suffered. Then you never really become one.
All right. Anybody else can jump on. We're having a conversation. You guys are chatting away. If you guys are tired of chatting, you can jump on. Otherwise, we're gonna call it in a few minutes. We're on almost 2 hours. Is there anything else that jumped out at you about the videos that we watched? What did you think about the women? Were you on for the part where Miss Anita was talking about women taking accountability, the ability to apologize, and all that? Well, did you see that?
I did see that, and it is important for us to not only take accountability and apologize, but to really search out why that behavior continues to happen. I believe that when you argue with your mate, you kind of looking at it as a boxing ring, where each one of you has taken your corner, and there's this divide and a separation between the two, and that already is an issue. So you do, as women, we have to. Is it hard? I think it depends on the person. I come from women who are very prideful. So my mom did not apologize very easily. She was a strong woman by that means, but she did not apologize. It wasn't easy for her to apologize. And I learned that, and I had to break away from it, because it is hard. But for the sake of peace, and for the sake of your man, your husband, your boyfriend, your children, it's valuable. It says a lot about us when we can stand up and apologize and be accountable. I think the accountability piece comes when we try to find out what the root cause of it is. Especially if it continues. If it continues in the relationship, it probably happens at work. It happens in other environments that involve the opposite sex.
This is a good comment here. Size of the boat. What are your thoughts about that? You walked into this. You're the Christian lady here. Is it the size of the boat or the motion of the ocean?
She's talking about sex?
Yeah, she's talking about how big the man is. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, you know what I'm talking
I
about.
mean, if you're going to carry a ruler and check that out, and that, I really do think that when those things matter, then that is your priority. And why is it? That's probably a question that we would have to ask ourselves. Why does a man's size and how he performs, why is that so important to me? Because he can be an amazing man, a great provider, a great encourager, and because it's a different size, sorry honey, I gotta find me somebody. Oh, that says a lot about us.
So here's this is on, I think it's still on YouTube. So there's a story about a woman. She was on a radio show, and she tells a story about she was seeing this guy. He was just an amazing guy, had all the different, attributes, good money, good looks, tall, all this kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but he never tried anything with her.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe one day I'll do a review of this. But anyway, I'm talking about it now. And so so he never tried anything. So then he's plans a romantic getaway. I think it was like 6 to 8 months. He had never tried anything. So he takes on a romantic getaway, and he wanted to wait till marriage. But she's like, I'm so attracted to this man. I want to try to do it. So they go to a hotel. They're on a vacation. You go to a hotel. And then, so she's, tried to do it. And it was just so small that he couldn't get it done. And so she was heartbroken. And they were supposed to be there for a few days. And then she ended up leaving early. It was just a crazy. It was really. I mean, they were making fun of it on the radio show, but the way she was saying it was funny. But it's obviously not. It's obviously not funny, because obviously he's devastated, and there's this hiding factor behind it. That's why I've said, is it a red flag if a man isn't trying to do it? Because if he's emotionally there, physically, talk about size and all that. Is it a red flag if he's not trying to do it? And so she felt as if he was deceiving her, because he, had this impediment. She called it a disability. That was her exact word, disability. And so, and she couldn't feel anything and all this kind of stuff. So that's why I'm asking, is it that way that a woman would, I don't want to rehash that, but I just kind of brought this up. It just kind of came to my mind about that. So, yeah.
Again, that's going to be, a man doesn't know how well he performs unless he is judged by it. And what happens to a man, and you can agree with that, is that a good man's ego has been crushed, and he may not, not just avoid sex. He may just avoid being that good man anymore, because he's been affected by one woman. And we have to be careful with that. We have to be careful about judging a man by his size and how he performs. Because
I know that's the talk, but I know that's the talk. But the truth of the matter is, from all through history, men have been judged by their size, of their physical presentation, and the size of their quote unquote wallets, their ability to hunt, performance based. And so that is something that men want to know how big they are. I mean, how they compare to others. I mean, I appreciate what you're saying as far as, and you should reassure him. These conversations, I think, are important about that kind of thing. But at the same time, I mean, that's a tough nut. And the guy, in my mind, the guy knew it. He knew it, and that's why he was hiding. So that's why I'm thinking, if he's not trying, there's got to be an issue here.
Because it's also relative. It's also relative to say when you have a woman who's big breasted, a woman who has, bigger hips than the other one, that has caused women to be, to have a complex, and men will say, well, we'll just lose weight. Well, you can't, what if you can't? What if there's other issues? Do I have to redo my body for one man who may never come? So that's the same thing with the man. And I know that a man values his physique. That matters to them. But I think if you are comfortable with who you are as a man, just like you are comfortable as you are as a woman, then a lot of these complex issues, we'll be able to overcome them. But I think we have to overcome them ourselves first.
Well, that's true. There is a lot of mental therapy that goes on for men, in particular with those types of things. Mr. Stu says previous partners hurt your future husband or wife. Is that your philosophy as well?
That is. And so the more sexual partners you have, if whatever breakup, you've already exposed yourself to all that. Many that marry that right person, if you slept with 6 or 7 of them, you bring them in there. So what ends up happening now, you're trying to coach your current wonderful husband based off of Joe that you had the last 6 months or before you dated. Because again, not only are we jumping into bed with these guys because of the money, because of the car, because of weakness, but at the same time, we're not going through a process of almost deprogramming ourselves and becoming whole again, so that when that right one comes along, sometimes we can't identify them because we are comparing them to every other guy we've been with, and vice versa for men. So that's a lot of what's happened. That's why we generalize and say, oh, well, you know how men are. Well, no, you know how women are, instead of saying, no, that last man that I was with. And I'm careful to say that because I had a wonderful dad. I have great brothers, that I don't generalize. If my last husband was just, to me, if he was a jerk, and I don't bash any of them and all, but if that's what he was, I don't generalize it. And we have to be careful with that, especially when we're raising sons and we're raising daughters, because we want our daughters to have that right man. So, what we're saying and how we're judging, we have to be so careful with that.
Very good. Very good. Y'all hit that like button. I see 52 likes on here. I don't know how many y'all see, but I see 52. We're going to, y'all are in here bugging. A man will overcompensate when he's not well endowed. However, the female anatomy is designed to receive and enjoy. And unfortunately, girth is a factor. But and length, but definitely girth. You're a Christian, ladies. Can I ask you this? What's more important to you, length or girth?
But like I tell you, for me, it's not. For me, what matters is where's your heart. If you believe in Christ, you love Him, He loves you. You know who He is. Then I know you're going to take care of me, even sexually, even sexually. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You wiggled out of that one good. Last question for you, and then we're going to call it for tonight. What should Judge Mathis's wife, Linda, I guess that's her name, should she go back to Judge Mathis? What are your thoughts about that?
I think she should. I guess she hasn't totally left him, but I think she should stay. 39 years is a long time. I was trying to type in there that there's stages that we go through as women, especially if you think about 39 years of marriage. They started from the ground up. He has an amazing testimony how he became a judge, and also they started from the ground up. Not everybody is able to handle fame. So I think as you go through the stages, I think they had like 4 children, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and all in your windows, within that window, there's certain things that we might be a little passive with, thinking that nothing's going to become of that. So that could have been the case. It might have been okay at one time, but the seasons began to change. And then now you are empty nesters. As an empty nester, going through certain years as women, we desire more now of our spouse. Well, at one point, and I've heard this before with empty nesters, that's why you'll even see divorce at an older age, because they spent so much time building the home, building the family. Now you're empty nesters, and you have to learn who you are once again. And it's funny, I see that with my daughter, my oldest daughter. They have pre-teenagers, and they knew each other from high school through college and all. And I see how they support themselves along the way. I admire their marriages. Both of them. The other one has younger kids, and that's a work. You have to work at trying to remain as one. So I would say for her to stay, for them to get the help that they need. And because 39 years is a lot of years that they've contributed to each other, to their family. And divorce is not an answer, but I understand her, because it is so hard when a woman has to say that, to walk away from someone you love because you've just had it. But I would say to stay and get the help that they need. Yeah. 39 years is a long time.
Thank you so much for coming up. I appreciate you. All these people out here, these keyboard warriors out here, want to keep typing in the chat. Nobody wants to come up, so I'm gonna let you off the hot seat. We're gonna call it for the night. Been here for 2 hours. I'm going to try to get Dr. Nicole to come up. Did you email me before? Did you Raquel? Did you email me?
Yes.
I can't remember.
Mhm.
Okay, very good. All right. So hit me again in the email. I definitely want to have you back on. We'll have just you and me one day. So but I'm gonna have Dr. Nicole on and some other people we got coming up. So thanks so much. Is there anything last words you have? You have a website or anything you want to push or promote? I know you came up here and being brave.
I do have a on YouTube, Woman Inspire #7, and what I do
Oh, I
on
did see.
there,
Yeah.
I teach and I speak. My desire is to help women find hope again, because there's so many women who are struggling, and I know that it's hard. I've been through that. So using biblical teaching along with my experience is what I do on there. I call it Cafe 10, and just have a conversation about these type of things. Now, sometimes not as deep. We don't talk about size and all that, but I do share. But I do share how I overcame. I mean, two marriages, 2 divorces. That was hard. That was not my plan at all. But I share. I share how I overcame a lot of that. How I raised my daughters as a single mom for 17 years. So just real life situations that I share, with the hope of being able to bring hope to women again, because there are some wonderful men out there. I know that there are, and some wonderful women, and we've got to come, kind of bring them together, because the family unit is so broken today, and our children are suffering. And that's where my heart is for our kids. So yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Definitely want to have you on. Maybe so Dr. Nicole, the womb therapist, Dr. Brantley, is coming on the 13th. I have somebody next week. I can't remember their name. Somebody I met in a Facebook chat who teaches at college, and whatever she was teaching was fascinating to me. So I'll have her on. And then maybe if you're free, maybe you could have you on the 20th or so if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, let me know.
We'll talk more about size in the next time you come on.
Yeah, do know I do not have a PhD. I have a PhD in life, and God has shown me so much, and that's what I share. So
I am not. I'm not.
My name.
I am not. It doesn't matter. I just want to have good conversations, and I think we can all learn something from someone. So I'm not looking just to have academics on, business leaders, business owners, politicians, and just regular anybody could come up here, and so we just have a good conversation. So don't be intimidated about that. Give your channel again. Somebody's asking your channel again.
It's Woman Inspire #7.
Okay, and you mostly talk about Christian ideas and help for them. Things.
Yeah, I use biblical principles, and then I use my testimony as well. Things that I've experienced, how I overcame just everyday life situations that we face as divorce mothers, being single for longer than being married, those type of things. Yeah,
I got you. And yes, Dr. Brantley is going to come on, and we're going to talk about more health stuff. I would imagine she's going to talk about different things for the womb, but we all need to be healthy and all that. So.
Yes.
So thank you, everyone. Listen, make sure you guys hit that like button. You can always buy me a lunch. I would certainly appreciate it. And some of these shows I might be doing on the road, because I do plan on traveling by October. Man, is it that long, October? I thought I had you before then. I don't know. Anyway, so everyone, thanks so much for coming on for the chats. Thank you so much, and I really, really appreciate everyone who stepped in and all that. Thank you to Miss Anita, fascinating as always. And you guys, make sure I think there's a video dropping in the morning. It's already pre-recorded. I do have one that's kind of talking negatively. I might have to take that down, because it's talking negatively about therapists. Because sometimes I just can't dig. I like Miss Nita, but some of these therapists, and I have a lot more respect because of what was explained about Dr. Bryant hear, but
Mhm.
I just have I sometimes I have a bad taste in my mouth about therapy. So
Yep.
I just think it's so woman and female dominated that they don't hear the man's point of view. Although I do think Anita kind of hears that, and as long as they're going down the middle, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. But I see too many women who just don't know how to walk it down the middle and don't know how to hold other ladies accountable, and that bothers me.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about health in general, unless we get specific questions regarding the womb. Yeah, so we're going to ask specific questions about size and girth and length and all that kind of stuff. So be prepared for that, Dr. Nicole. All right. We're
Well,
going to
thank
call it for
you.
tonight. Guys, have a
Okay.
good night. Take care. Much love and
Thank
peace.
you. Bye-bye.